Hey guys, Dr. Morse, injury experts. So it's Wednesday night. We are heading into week 5. Tomorrow night, the Bucks play. We will see them play the Atlanta Falcons. And we know that there are a ton of injuries, but this is also the first bye week of the season. We have the Detroit Lions, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Tennessee Titans all on bye this week. So I don't really need to talk about any of those guys because the majority of the guys that are injured are going to come back the following week. Now, there are several injuries that we do need to talk about, and I'm going to briefly cover them. Now, normally I have a really good grasp on who's going to play on Sunday. Not always the case this week. Now, Wednesday can be tricky. Sometimes it's super obvious, hey, this guy's good. Last week, we got a couple curveballs later in the week. This week could very well be similar. And what I mean that is that there's a good chance Thursday and Friday practices are going to determine if they're going to be able to play. I usually record this on Wednesdays because by the time I get it out on Thursdays, you're already playing the Thursday night game. And Fridays, you already made a lot of your collective decisions for the week. So that's traditionally why I do it on Thursdays after the first set of practices. Now, Anthony Richardson has really struggled early on in the season, running about 50% accuracy, reception completion, and he's already thrown 6 interceptions, but he was able to stay healthy until now. Now he suffered a hip injury, what we call a hip pointer, which isn't overly concerning, but also an oblique injury and an abdominal strain. So there's a possibility he is dealing with 3 separate injuries. He practiced in limited capacity today. This could go either way. I'm assuming he's going to play, but I would not be surprised if he exits the game early. So he is definitely a little bit of a risky play. And the obliques can bother him. This is an abdominal injury that traditionally has a tendency to cause a lot of problems with rotating and twisting, which obviously you need as a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, who struggled in their last week's game against Denver, which was a hot garbage game. Oh, God, it was awful. He was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday saying, hey, my knee's swollen, it's banged up, it's sore. So logically, he's on the injury report today with exactly that. I'm not super worried about it. He doesn't have a whole lot of mobility anyway, but I'm hoping that we see a little bit of something from Breece Hall and from Garrett Wilson because it's been pretty bad. Will Levis did suffer likely an AC sprain. That's what it looked like classically. He did not obviously return to the game. They have a bye week this week. He'll probably be back next week with no significant downstream issues. This is likely a type 1. For reference, Anthony Richardson was a type 3. So significant more damage for Richardson. Justin Herbert actually looked pretty good and should be significantly better next week, although he probably did re-injure it in some capacity just because he played through his high ankle. Andy Dalton looked fine in his ankle. Jordan Love actually was hobbling around pretty good. Had another monster, game in terms of fantasy points, and he'll probably be even better this week because of his health and hopefully not playing from behind. He'll take another couple weeks to finally get acclimated, and this will deter him from running as well. And he's not much of a runner anyway. Russell Wilson is basically the backup at this point. They can drag this calf thing out as long as they want, but realistically, he's basically the backup until if Justin Fields has any issues. He looked pretty good. Bijan Robinson, good to go tomorrow night with a hamstring injury that he suffered likely in week 4, but he also had a shoulder injury. And I believe I was told that he had a touchdown call back that would have been a substantial amount of points. So he could have had a much better game. I would not be surprised to see Algier basically split the carries here. It would not surprise me at all. That's basically what happened last week. But if you have him, you have to start him. That's just what it is. Jonathan Taylor has a high ankle sprain. And, realistically, even though he's had this surgically repaired, I would be astonished if he plays this week. It's just not a smart idea. And, he didn't practice today. I don't think he plays this week. And I think Trey Sermon takes over, and he's kind of a top 15 to, in that 15 to 20 range this week. Bijan Robinson popped up today with a knee injury, and he did not practice. A little concerning. I don't have any specifics on it. I did not see a play where he got injured, so we're going to have to monitor this. If he practices in a limited capacity tomorrow, great news. If he doesn't practice again, then we're going to have to figure out. There's a good chance Eckler should be back. He's progressing through the concussion protocol. They still have, I think, Rodriguez, and they have a couple other guys. So McNichols or whatever his name is, he might be worthy of a pickup because he scored a bunch of points, and maybe that's where the ball would go. Travis Etienne's been really dealing with a shoulder injury. It could be an AC sprain. He left and came back and left again, and he didn't get a lot of volume in the second half, and Bigsby looks much better. So there's a chance that Etienne loses it in middle of the season. If they start dragging, I wouldn't be surprised if they traded him. So we'll see how that plays out. Devin Singletary popped up with a groin today, did not practice at all. These do have a tendency to linger. These are frustrating injuries, and usually they take a couple weeks to heal. I'm not ready to rule him out yet, but Tyrone Tracy is going to get more volume than he usually does. He looked really good in the past couple of weeks. So if Devin Singletary's out, Tracy could be a sneaky kind of play, even though we'll talk about in a little bit, they're going to be really restricted. Jeff Wilson Jr. tweaked his knee. We don't have any more details. Not really relevant. Tyler Badie ended up injuring his back. Needed to be stretched off. Eventually flew home. It sounds like he's probably going to be out, but and again, he's not really relevant. I think Javonte Williams becomes the guy until we hear about Audric Estime, who's on IR. Cordarelle Patterson is dealing with an ankle injury. I think he's in a boot, so I'm pretty much all but expecting him to miss. Kamara was banged up last week, but still had a really good week, or for the most part, a good week. Najee Harris did not look good at all. And Jaylen Warren did not practice again today, so there's a chance he misses again this week with that knee injury, which I wouldn't, if you have to drop him, you have to drop him, but I would not drop him if you had a choice because he is going to, a very good chance he's going to be needed because they're really banged up line, and he's a really good receiving specialist, so I would not get rid of him if I could help it. Jerome Ford popped up with a knee last week. He was fine. Bucky Irving, despite with that hamstring injury, he played and it did okay. He'll be better this week. He could eat tomorrow night. I mean, absolutely eat. So you should start him if you have him. Rachaad White has struggled on the ground. He also had that groin injury, but he's more of a receiving specialist. Joe Mixon did not practice today, dealing with that ankle injury still. It's either a medial or a high ankle, one of the two. They're very similar timelines. And they're both frustrating injuries, and there's a chance that he comes back this week. But if not, Dameon Pierce is still out with that hammy, at least so far. This could be Cam Akers again this week, so we'll see how it plays out. But, last week Mixon practiced on Friday and didn't play, so we'll have to see how it is. And this is, I believe, the third week in a row. Mostert has a chance to come back this week with that chest injury. Again, I don't know how relevant it is. Kenneth Walker looked absolutely bananas and dominant in his first game back after an oblique. Looked really good. Probably not even 100% yet, but I would recommend, obviously, continuing to smash with him. Charbonnet did get some love in the receiving game as well as running, but that was definitely Walker's game. So in the next video, in the next part of this video, we're going to cover wide receivers and tight ends.